Yeah. What just happens is Jesus is talking to Nicodemus in what city? Jerusalem, which is in Judea, right? So basically, this would be like me telling you a story that Jesus was talking to President Obama in Washington, D.C., and after that, they went to the United States. It doesn't make sense, because the city that they're in is already in the area that they said they went to. It would make sense if he had the Nicodemus story separate from the other part, and he just shoved it all together at one point. The next one is very similar to that. What's yours?
Yeah, ours is John 5:1. It's when Jesus is in Jerusalem, like that's what it says in the first line, and he's doing all this healing and all this work. And then chapter 6, the first line is after this Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee, and it's nowhere near each other. So how could he be from one place to another? He was nowhere near the state.
So they went from Jerusalem to the other side of the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
The Sea of Galilee is not near Jerusalem. So that would be like me saying that Jesus was talking to Obama in Washington, D.C., and then they went across to the other side of Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't make any sense because Lake Michigan's not anywhere near Washington, D.C. This is, again, something that doesn't make sense as written, but it would make sense if the author was piecing together separate sources and didn't really edit them very well. How about who's doing the fourth one, you guys? What's the fourth one?
At Jesus' last meal with his disciples, Peter asked, "Lord, where are you going?" A few verses later, Thomas says to Jesus, "Lord, we do not know where you are going." Oddly enough, several minutes later, Jesus states, "But now I'm going to him who sent me, yet none of you asked me, where are you going?"
Yeah.
So it says, like, you're not asking where I'm going, but they just asked him twice.
Yeah. They ask him twice, where are you going? And then at the end of it, Jesus says, how come none of you have asked me where I'm going? Again, doesn't make sense unless the author was piecing together two different stories and didn't pay attention to the fact that there was kind of a contradiction there. And then the last one, Jen?
At the end of verse 14, Jesus tells his disciples to let us go on our way, but then he continues to walk until chapter 18.
Yeah. There's, if you look on 117, scholars think that John had these two sources, what they just call source A and source B there, and that source B was inserted in the middle of source A, so that 13, 14, and then there was a gap where they inserted 15 through 17, and then 18 begins. Now, the passage you guys were looking at, 14:31, if you read that and took out all those intervening chapters, it makes perfect sense. In 14:31, Jesus says, okay, let's go, and in 18:1, they go. Chapters 15 through 17 is this long dialogue. It doesn't make sense. It would be like, you know, you get, what's that?
It's like them sitting there for like pre-chat.
Yeah. It would be like Anthony saying, yeah, what happened in class the other day to Selena? Let's say Selena misses class, and Anthony said, and then at that point, Dr. Martin said that class was dismissed, and then he talked for another hour, and then class was dismissed. Like, it doesn't really make sense unless somebody was inserting something else. Now, this is a different kind of case. Like, when we have the Gospel of Matthew and Mark, we can compare them and do redaction criticism because we can see how Matthew took elements of Mark and incorporated them. We can't do that with John because we don't have any of those other sources. However, because of all these literary themes, we can guess that he probably was using other sources. There seems to be no other way to account for why would there be all these weird things that don't make sense. So, we can't do redaction criticism because redaction criticism, well, what does it mean to redact? Yeah, just to edit. So redaction criticism looks at the edited texts. To do that, you've got to have the original and then the edited version. Right? Do you guys ever have professors who make you turn in the rough draft and the final draft of your paper? Right? Because they want to compare, okay, what did you change from the original version to the next version? We can't do that with John because we don't have the original version. But we can speculate that there had to have been other versions out there that he was using.